Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Alright guys, I'm back, and it is the 6th of June. It's Saturday, and it's 9:12 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, we're going to get caught up on the Q posts, and we've got a lot to catch up on. So I need to not be chatty tonight and work to get through these because we've got a ton of Q posts. I'm behind, obviously, in them, but we're going to get caught up, hopefully, to the end of yesterday. But Q is posting out there right now. So there isn't any hope of me being able to get to those tonight, but tomorrow is another day. All right, guys. Well, I do want to thank a few people, and the following people donated via coffee. Suzanne and Alan Meaford from Ontario, which is really nice to see when I see people in my own province, because most Canadians are really not that interested in this stuff, but it's good to see. Anyway, that's very encouraging. Also, Barbara Picard, thank you very much. Marjorie Joanne Telasco, thank you. Anon, and Big Bear. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. You make it possible for me to do what I do. So let me go on here, and I'm picking up exactly where I left off in the last Q post. The last Q video I did, I'm picking up from there, but I haven't covered it for a while, so I need to, I need to get caught up, or there won't be any hope of me getting caught up. All right, so we are on drop 4399. St. Louis DA Kim Gardner is providing a safe zone for Antifa rioters. And boy, is she ever. Safe zone known, coordinated Q. Well, that doesn't surprise me at all. And here is, I've clipped it out for us to save a bit of time. And this is Eric Schmidt. This is the link right here that Q has provided. It says, in a stunning development, our office has learned that every single one of the St. Louis looters and rioters arrested were released back onto the streets by local prosecutor Kim Gardner. And it's interesting because Q is assuring us that these safe zones are known and they've been coordinated. Well, that's quite evident by, I think it's pretty evident to most people that have eyes and a little bit of common sense. They can see that this didn't just happen organically and just spring up organically. The bricks kind of gave that away, among other things. All right, let's continue on. We're on drop 4400. Still on the 3rd of June, actually. I missed a couple from the 3rd of June. So the swamp runs deep, reference to General Swamp Dog Mattis. And Q says, I'm draining the swamp, and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win. And Q says the swamp runs deep. And in the title, it's asking, is this a reference to Swamp Dog Mattis? Well, I think probably because of the timing that it is. That would be my inclination anyway, is to say that it is related, because that happened to be the swamp creature that was fighting hardest at the moment that this was posted. So, all right. And we're going to, we are now on the 4th of June, and we are on drop 4401. Black Lives Matter only during election years. Democrats' way to manipulate the black vote. And again, I hate to say it, but that's incredibly self-evident as well, because we can see that this comes around every time there's an election. This comes around, this unrest. The same players are always involved. So this time, though, it is much more heinous. They have ratcheted it up quite a few notches. So let's go and take a look at what Q is wanting us to look at, which is this right here. And let's take a look. See if we see anything. Q is asking us, do you see a pattern? Well, I think we do, but hopefully I can get out to it. Well, dang it. that link won't work for me, but let's make this really big so maybe you can see this instead, because it's just a bigger picture of this. And this is Black Lives Matter, and it is the July 10th to 16th, 2016. See, the summer of 16, right before the election, it peaked, and then we had the election and we didn't hear anything really. Now it's off the charts, and again, it's summer 2020, right before an election. So yeah, it's pretty transparent what they're doing. I mean, they may think that they're putting it over on people. They're not. They're putting it over on certain people, the kind of people that watch mainstream media. But other than that, for those of us that are awake and know what's going on, or at least know in part what's going on, nobody can know fully at this point. It's not surprising to us at all. All right, let's go on now. We are on drop 4402. 4402. Soros, Trump will disappear in 2020 or even sooner. Let's go listen to Soros. I don't know. I can't stand listening to this guy. There is something so wicked, pervasively wicked about this man. Anyway, we're going to go see that. And then beneath it, Q says, demons continue to serve the devil in his attempt to lead the world away from God and into sin. Q. I don't know if it's that cut and dried, but more or less. All right, and let me make this bigger for you tiny phone people. Always thinking of you tiny phone people, always. All right, let's listen to the devil speak.
I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner. I consider the Trump administration...
He's saying, I consider that, because I know it's probably a little bit muffled and plus he's got an accent. He's saying, I consider the Trump administration to be a temporary whatever, because I expect that he'll disappear in 2020, if not sooner. So that's what he's hoping. Sure hope that he's wrong. All right, let's go on now. And that is a very good way of putting it. Demons continue to serve the devil because he is. He funds all this stuff. You know, these businesses that are being, just those plate glass alone in a business, do you have any idea how much they cost? A lot. And burning down businesses, looting, this is all at his direction. This is what he wants for America. He wants it destroyed. In fact, he said, and I quote, that the culmination of my life work will be the destruction of America. That's what George Soros said. That's a direct quote. So, yeah, that's what the whole aim of his entire life has been, to destroy America. Boy, I will love if, I'm not saying that I don't want people to die or anything, but when George Soros dies, I pray that he has not achieved his goal and will go to the grave unfulfilled. That's what I pray. All right, now we are on drop 4404, the 4th of June. They want to breach the White House and capture a horrifying moment for optics. Goal. Now, remember I said this in a video before I even saw this. I had said that wouldn't that be such a triumph for them if they could have the optics of the White House burning down, because it would horrify the world, not just Americans. It would horrify the world, because anyone in the world will recognize a picture of the White House. Doesn't matter where they live. They know what the White House looks like. And it's iconic, and it has been for generations and generations. So if they were to do that, if they were to breach the line there that they have protecting the White House, if they were to breach that and to get to the White House, I'll tell you what you'd see. You'd see graffiti all over it, just as there is graffiti all over the Lincoln Memorial, which the mainstream media will not show you. It would have graffiti all over it before it burned down. And I can't think of anything more horrifying, really. Not because, okay, yes, we can rebuild it. Okay, I get that. But you can't fill everything in the white that's there in the White House, all the priceless artifacts and art and history. You can't replace that. Not only that, it's not the fact of it burning down and rebuilding. It's the fact that visually it would traumatize Americans, just like it traumatized Americans when they saw planes go into the World Trade the World Trade Towers. That was traumatizing to people. I will never forget where I was, what I was doing. I'll never forget the hours that I sat in front of the TV, what I was thinking, what I was feeling. It was unbelievable. And that would be the same type of optics here. It would horrify people. Now, I'm not going to get into arguments about 9/11 because, whether there were planes or no planes or blah, blah, blah. I know that it was a false flag. I know that for sure. So that's all I need to know. I mean, I know a great deal. I have studied all that extensively. That's what opened my eyes in the first place. All right. Okay, so this is a tweet by Donald Trump. It says, great job last night at the White House by the U.S. Secret Service. They were not only totally professional, but very cool. I was inside, watched every move, and couldn't have felt more safe. They let the protesters scream and rant as much as they wanted, but whenever someone got too frisky or out of line, they would quickly come down on them hard, didn't know what hit them. The front line was replaced with fresh agents like magic. Big crowd, professionally organized, but nobody came close to breaching the fence. If they had of, they would have been greeted with the most vicious dogs and more ominous weapons I have ever seen. That's when people would have really been badly hurt, at least. Many Secret Service agents just waiting for action. We put the young ones on the front line, sir. They love it. And good practice. As you saw last night, they were very cool and very professional. Never let it get out of hand. Thank you. On the bad side, the DC mayor, Muriel Browser, who is always looking for money and help, wouldn't let the DC police get involved. Not their job. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, she's a piece of work. That's all I can say. Okay, now we're going to go out to, it says, what happens if a breach occurs at the White House? Attempts coordinated to capture a horrifying moment. Yes, that's exactly what they would like. Could you imagine if they breached that barrier and made it to the White House? What would happen? Could you imagine, just picture what they did to the stores. Could you imagine that happening to the White House, them carrying out priceless art and everything else they could get their hands on, and furniture and probably anything they could get. And then, as we know, they'd burn it down. So, and up here in the title, Q put goal, that was their goal. They want to breach the White House and capture a horrifying moment for optics. That is the goal. That is the goal. All right, so now Q also provides us with a dictionary definition of the word goal. Goal, the result or achievement toward which effort is directed, aim, end, the terminal point in a race. A pole, line, or other marker by which such a point is indicated. An area, basket, cage, or other object or structure toward or into which players of various games attempt to throw, carry, kick, hit, or drive a ball, puck, etc. to score a point or points. The act of throwing, carrying, kicking, driving a ball or puck into such an area or object. The score made by this act. All right, so it says, Q says, then what happens then? Heavy protect White House. Previous, I'm not sure what he means by that. Heavy protect White House. Previous, POTUS warning meant to push rational thought, peaceful protesters. Previous, coordinated anarchist, anarchy 99, push to victory, White House breach. That's what they intend to do. There's no question about it. They intend to breach the White House. It's very evident to me and probably all of you as well that that was the goal. And that was why they were so upset about, oh, they threw smoke bombs at us and It wasn't tear gas from what the president said. I have no reason to dispute him. So, they were, and then they're all peaceful. No, they weren't peaceful. The mainstream media would like you to believe that, but I don't. And here is the other link that Q provided. Let's go take a look at that. Okay, breaking. DC Mayor Muriel Bowser criticizes fencing around White House. That's the people's house. It's a sad commentary that the house and its inhabitants have to be walled off. We should want the White House to be opened up for people to be able to access it from all sides. Well, now, just take a guess what side you think she's on. Right. She wants the White House open. See how she's shaming the president? Oh, it needs to be open. This is the people's house. Well, if the people can't behave, they can't. You really think these people are going to go up to the White House and protest peacefully? Really? Right. So, quite evident what side she's on, and she called off the DC police, said that that's not their job to protect the White House. Well, yeah, she's a piece of work. She really is. All right, let's go back. Okay, now we're still on the 4th of June, and we are on 4404, drop 4404. DC mayor lifts curfew. Pelosi doesn't want military in DC. Oh, poor Pelosi. Oh. Democrats want to control Insurrection Act. Well, Democrats want to control everything and everybody. That's what they want. They want everybody under their control. They want everyone healed, and they want us all on leashes. Then they want us to work like dogs so they can get the money. That's what they want. Yeah. And they want to be able to, they want enough people to work so that those that won't work, well, we have to pay for them too. Yeah, that's the Democrat way, apparently. So let's look at this. And Q says, important to understand what happens if a breach occurs at the White House. Attempts coordinated to capture a horrifying moment. Absolutely. Now, we're going to look at, this is the first link he's left right here, and it says, WMAL News, just in, DC Mayor Muriel Bowser says there will not be a curfew in the district tonight as protests over the death of George Floyd are expected to continue. DC police say no arrests were made last night as demonstrations were peaceful. Well, that is a flat-out lie. Well, it's not a lie that they didn't make any arrests, and they probably won't, because they've probably been instructed not to. All right, so there's that. Then there's this from The Hill. And let's take a look at that. Pelosi demands Queen Pelosi. My gosh, I don't believe this woman. She just makes me ill, really. Pelosi demands Trump clarify deployment of unidentified law enforcement in D.C. Well, Trump doesn't have to explain anything to you or clarify anything. Figure it out yourself. You're so smart.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Thursday demanded that President Trump provide a list of the agencies involved in deploying law enforcement officers around Washington, D.C. in response to the crowds of demonstrators protesting police brutality. Some officers policing protests in the city in recent days have been seen without any identifying labels on their uniforms, raising questions about which law enforcement agencies they represent. In a letter to Trump, Pelosi wrote that, quote, "We are concerned about the increased militarization and lack of clarity that may increase chaos."
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, there you go. I think we've read most of it. She's concerned about increased militarization. Well, if it wasn't needed, it wouldn't be there. Einstein. It enrages me, really, that these people have been elected. And it enrages me that they're still there. They do nothing. They do absolutely nothing for our country. And there's Joe Biden. He wants to be president after he's had a lifetime of doing nothing, a lifetime of corruption. So let's go back. All right, so important to understand what happens if a breach occurs. Well, we all know what will happen if a breach occurs. We all do. And www.dictionary.com, browse goal. What happens then? Heavy protect White House previous. POTUS warning meant to push rational thought. Peaceful protesters, previously coordinated anarchist, Anarchy 99, push to victory, White House breach, Q. So, and of course, we've already looked at the term goal and what it means. That is their goal. Now we are on drop 4405. 4405, June 4th, Democrats are supporting the riots in their cities and purposefully weakening police forces. Yes, absolutely they are. And it says, updated list of major cities in the headlines with major riot activity, so-called protesters. Minneapolis, Democrat Mayor Jacob Frey. Cincinnati, Democrat Mayor John Cranley. Atlanta, Democrat Mayor Keisha Lance. Bottoms, Columbus, Democrat Mayor Andrew Ginther. Oakland, Democrat Mayor Libby Schaaf. San Jose, Democrat Mayor Sam Liccardo. Seattle, Democrat Mayor Jenny Durkin. Denver, Democrat Mayor Michael Hancock. New York City, Democrat Mayor Bill de Blasio. Washington, D.C., Democrat Mayor Muriel Bowser. Los Angeles, Democrat Mayor Eric Garcetti. Phoenix, Democrat Mayor Kate Gallego. Dallas, Democrat Mayor Eric Johnson. Louisville, Democrat Mayor Greg Fisher. Memphis, Democrat Mayor Jim Strickland. Houston, Democrat Mayor Sylvester Turner. Richmond, Democrat Mayor LeVar Stoney. Fort Wayne, Democrat Mayor Tom Henry. St. Paul, Democrat Mayor Melvin Carter. Bakersfield, Republican Mayor Karen Go. All right, and come down here, and Q is saying important to understand, so we're going to take a look at this. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, city officials cutting $100 million to $150 million from the LAPD budget. Funds to be reinvested in communities of color. Well, you can invest all you want. If you take money away from the police department, who is it that's going to suffer? It's the law-abiding that are going to suffer. Not a good idea, people. Doesn't take a bright light bulb to figure that out either. So, as he began to speak about reforming the LAPD during his Wednesday evening press conference, Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti called this an urgent moment for the city, an inflection point. He said he is committed to making this moment not just a moment. Garcetti said he would be making commitments to creating racial equality. It is time to move our rhetoric toward action to end racism in our city. He said the city must move beyond police reforms of the past. Prejudice can never be part of police work. It takes bravery to save lives, too. We will not be increasing our police budget, said the mayor. That allocation is pegged at $1.8 billion in the mayor's previously proposed budget. Garcetti spoke of reinvesting in Black communities and communities of color. The mayor proceeded to announce $250 million in cuts to the proposed budget and to reallocate those dollars to communities of color so we can invest in jobs, in education, and healing. LA Police Commission President Eileen Decker then announced that $100 million to $150 million of those cuts would come from the police department budget. LA City Council President Nuri Martinez made it official Wednesday by introducing a motion to cut LAPD funding. As we reset our priorities in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, this is just one small step. We cannot talk about change, we have to be about change, Martinez tweeted. So, okay, so that's enough of that. I think that gives us the idea of what Q is wanting us to see. And this is not just happening there. I'm hearing about this other places as well. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. But I guess they'll learn that too late. And then they'll say, well, we didn't know. How would we know what was going to happen? Anybody knows what's going to happen. Like a 5-year-old would know. But not these people. Because they actually want it to happen. They want unrest. They want civil unrest. It's what they want. It's what people like George Soros wants. It's what people like Obama want. That's what they want. Civil unrest. Tear it down. You didn't build that. Yeah. All right. Now we are on drop 4406, information warfare. And this is a previous Q post from the 20th of November, 2019 that says the same, information warfare. All assets, foreign and domestic, being deployed. Some who once supported POTUS, sleepers, will turn puppets and puppet masters. So he was saying back in November of 2019, he was saying that, this was going to come, that some who'd once supported POTUS and they're sleepers, they will turn because there's puppets and then there's puppet masters. Control of narrative equals control of public opinion. Well, we've seen that. Control of public opinion equals power. Everything is at stake. Old guard power structure being destroyed. Washington Civil War, control the narrative. Previous exposure of truth. Self-preservation. Fighting for survival. Information warfare. And that's what they are doing actually right now because, most of us look at it and they say, okay, well, if POTUS gets in, like if you were somebody that doesn't really agree with the policies of Donald Trump, you would say, well, I don't want him to get in, but, you're not going to fight like this. People that fight like this have something to lose if he gets in office. They have a lot to lose if he gets in office. And I think we're going to see that. And I'm wondering if this coming November, remember he said we were going to have this parade. It was all like a huge, huge deal. At the beginning when Q first started posting, he was talking about a big military parade. I'm wondering if that's going to be this fall, since the end is the beginning. That's what I'm wondering. Because I don't think Q will continue to post after the election. I don't see why he would need to, but maybe, actually I can see that he might. Orange juice. It's just so dang delicious. All right. So let's go on. And we are on drop 4407. 4407. Minneapolis City Council members consider disbanding the police. Not a good idea, people. Not a good idea. Important to understand, only at the precipice, moment of destruction, will people find the will to change. Q. All right, let's take a look at this. People aren't too swift, are they? Minneapolis City Council members consider disbanding the police. Well, that will make things so much better, won't it? If you've tuned into the Minneapolis public safety scene, you know that for years, Reclaim the Block and other grassroots community groups have been asking the city to do one thing: stop investing in policing. Budget meeting after budget meeting, they'd turn out with their petitions and signs demanding the city put less money into its police department and more money into programs that stop crimes from happening in the first place: affordable housing, addiction counseling, violence prevention programs. The council's been listening. I think we've had a vision for a while of wanting to see another kind of city response to those 911 calls, say council member Steve Fletcher, whose Ward 3 covers part of downtown. And, you know, actually, I read this in my last news video. So this is something that we've seen before and read before. So, yeah, and we discussed before as well that this is not going to end well. Not going to end well. They do have some good ideas. For example, I don't think police should respond to mental health. You know, I think that they should have trained professionals that do that. Yes, I understand that sometimes these people are violent. They may be off their medication or what have you. But, you know, in my experience, and I did work for the police for a while, I don't think it works, because people end up, they don't get the care they need. And these people are not violent. They may be acting that way, but it's because of a mental illness. It's not, and they need to be treated like they're ill, not, you know, shot, gunned down, as they so often are. They really are. So anyway, let's move on from that, because we've got to keep moving. We've got to keep our pace up tonight, or we'll never get through it. And we are on drop 4408. 4408. We are in the middle of another enlightenment approaching the precipice. And as Q up here said, only at the precipice, moment of destruction, will people find the will to change. Yeah, people will change if they see America is absolutely at the precipice of destruction. I think most people will say, okay, what do we need to do here? I really don't think, especially, it would be kind of like if you're boating and, you know, you just poke a hole in your own boat because you don't like somebody in the boat. Like, say there's, you know, like, I don't know, you've got a rowboat with 4 people and one of them you can't stand. So what do? You poke a hole in the boat. Well, you all go down and you drown. So that's just not a good idea. All right. So now we are on drop 4408. We are in the middle of another enlightenment approaching the precipice. And now this leads to an article on enlightenment. The Enlightenment is often associated with its political revolutions and ideals, especially the French Revolution of 1789. The energy created and expressed by the intellectual foment of Enlightenment thinkers contributes to the growing wave of social unrest in France in the 18th century. The social unrest comes to a head in the violent political upheaval which sweeps away the traditionally and hierarchically structured ancient regime, the monarchy, the privileges of the nobility, the political power of the Catholic Church. The French revolutionaries meant to establish in place of the ancient regime a new reason-based order, instituting the Enlightenment ideals of liberty and equality. Enlightenment with the process of undertaking to think for oneself, to employ and rely on one's own intellectual capacities in determining what to believe and how to act. That is what enlightenment means. Now, let's take a look at this. Q wants us to, obviously. Okay, so now this is very long, and I think he's probably pulled out for us the parts that, basically this is pulled right out of this. So he's obviously placed this here for context and a link, but this was just pulled right out. Q just pulled this right out. So I don't think it's necessary for us to reread it. I think we all know what enlightenment is and what the Enlightenment period was. I would hope. Okay. Now we are on post 4409. 4409. The Lancet study used by the World Health Organization to stop the drug trials has been retracted. Yes, I saw that, and I was a little surprised, and yet not so surprised, because we know that those studies were hogwash. They were, because it's a safe drug. It's been around for a very, very long time. There are huge amounts of people on this drug at any given time in the United States, in Canada, in the world, and yet there's been no major side effects or whatever noted. There are some, but as with any drug, but yeah, we were completely sold a false narrative on that. Now, we understood because our eyes are open, but many people didn't. And I remember mentioning it to a couple people up here, and they were like, oh, no, you can't take that. Oh, it's like, all right. So when media and Democrats, elected officials, coordinate knowingly, there's that word again, knowingly, attempt to prevent a medically verifiable solution, prevention, COVID-19, previous death, we enter a state of crisis. When Democrat elected officials coordinate knowingly, push COVID-19 positive elderly patients into nursing homes, hotspots, most at risk, we enter a state of crisis. Your life means nothing to them. And that is very evident. Do you think little ice cream eating Pelosi cares whether you lose your home or business, or whether you go bankrupt, or whether you're even killed violently in one of these protests? Do you really think Ice Cream Pelosi cares? Because I'm thinking she doesn't. Your life means nothing to them. You're just sheep to them. You are a vote when it matters and a dollar sign when it does not. How true is that? Very true. Okay, so let's go and take a look at this. Okay, in an important moment for science and data transparency, the Lancet announces that its 96,000 observational study on the drug has been retracted. A sad story, but an important one. And here is the retraction. After publication, I'm not going to read all this. After publication of our Lancet article, several concerns were raised with respect to the veracity of the data and analysis conducted by Surgisphere Corporation and its founder and our co-author, Sapin Desai, in our publication. So we launched a independent third-party peer review of Surgisphere with the consent of Sapin Desai to evaluate, okay, whatever. So they evaluated that, they reevaluated it, and they found that the study was false. Says retraction, the drug or chloroquine with or without a macrolide for treatment of COVID-19 multinational registry analysis. So yeah, and they're now saying that, it was completely erroneous, which I think we all knew. Talk about telling us the obvious. All right, now let's go on, shall we? Of course we shall. And then there's this. Okay, we are still on the 4th of June, and we are on drop 4410. 4410. Operators are standing by. Photo of Bill Clinton with Bible. My gosh. I would have thought he would have been just, have it like a moth that touches, gets too close to the fire. Just, yeah, that's what I would think. But Yeah. Funny how nobody said anything to him about photo op. No, nobody said anything to him at all. Gee, I guess it just depends on who you are. Maybe. No, really. Yeah, if he was, Trump does the same thing, and look what happens to him. And this is the first time I've ever seen this photo. All right. Now we are on drop 4411, fake news, shielding Antifa. Bill Barr distinctly calls out Antifa. Yes, did he ever? I love that, Bill Barr. I don't care what anybody says. He's a good man. And it says, the news is fake. The war is real. Q. Well, that just kind of puts it succinctly. And let's take a look at this. And let me make it bigger for you tiny phone people.
There are extremist agitators at some demonstrations. There are extremist agitators who are hijacking the protests to pursue their own separate and violent agenda. We have evidence that Antifa and other similar extremist groups, as well as actors of a variety of different political persuasions, have been involved in instigating and participating in the violent activity. We're seeing people who are exploiting this situation to pursue violent extremist agendas, anarchists like Antifa and other agitators. These individuals.
Yeah. And it's obvious that it's Antifa. It's got their fingerprints all over it. And, I'm just making an observation here. I mean, just, a passing observation. I never heard about Antifa before Obama. Did you? Didn't think so. I'm not saying it's a direct cause. I'm just making an observation. That's all. Just an observation. Probably a pretty accurate one. Okay, well, let's go back now, because we can, and let's continue on with Q. Now we are on drop 4412, and when we get to the 5th of April, or the 5th of June, rather, I'm going to break and I'm going to make that into another video because, well, I know you guys don't want to be here all night just watching one video. So I'll break it into two, which is only done to fool you. Because I know you'll watch it too. Some of you anyway, some of you regular listeners. Okay. Drop 4412, still on the 4th of June. Letter from respected retired Marine blasts Jim Mattis' decision to get political. And there is, we're going to go out to this link to Donald Trump, his Twitter status, and Q says, "We are fighting for our survival." Yes, that is the absolute truth. I don't know if anybody has put up with what POTUS has had to put up with, really. And Donald J. Trump said, "I thought this letter from respected retired Marine and superstar lawyer John Dowd would be of interest to the American people. Read it." Okay, Donald Trump, President Trump, we'll read it. "I slept on your statement and woke up appalled and upset. You lost me. Never dreamed you would let a bunch of hack politicians use your good name and reputation earned with the blood and guts of young Marines. You did what you said you would You did what you said you would engage in this disclosure. Marines kept their word. The phony protesters near Lafayette Park were not peaceful and are not real. They are terrorists using idle, hate-filled students to burn and destroy. They were abusing and disrespecting the police when the police were preparing the area for the 1900 curfew. Jim, this is the new nihilism. See Dan Henninger in Wall Street Journal today. Marines support the police in harm's way. Did you forget that President Bush used active duty Marines to quell the riots in LA? President Trump has countless cities and some snowflake governors and mayors wetting themselves in the use of force to protect innocent lives and property. The AG of Massachusetts thinks burning property is good protest. 3 more policemen were stabbed and shot in New York City last night. Think about it. Should he be upset about the obvious failure of leadership? Where are you, Jim? Marines go to the fight. No one divided this country more than Obama. He abandoned our black brothers and sisters. He gave guns to the cartels. He apologized for our precious sacrifice and generosity overseas. You remember, he fired you. President Trump has done more to help with our minority brothers and sisters in 3 years than anyone in the last 50. Ask the black pastors. Ask the leader of the black colleges and universities. He got them funded. Ask them about the prison reform, which ended the draconian sentences imposed on young black men by the laws enacted by Biden and his hacks. You need to bone up on some of your homework and stop listening to Uncle Leon. I understand you had to stick to the assigned narrative, which did not include 3 years of corrupt investigations and evidence to destroy the president, his office, and his lawful free election. Nancy has no tolerance for dissent in the ranks, including those with stars. You said nothing of the ugly, hate-filled, disgraceful comments of Pelosi, Schumer, Perez, and other Democrat hacks defaming the president and his office. You said nothing of the unlawful sanctuary cities and the unlawful release of hoodlums. You said nothing of the resistance movement to paralyze our courts and our government operations. You said nothing of the obstruction and subversion of our immigration laws. You said nothing of MS-13 killers and the drug cartels who owned huge sections of our major cities. Jim, do you think that hateful rhetoric and those corrupt actions were inspiring and unifying? Do you think the DIs at Paris Island would find such behavior as unifying? Maybe your problem is a lot deeper. Perhaps you ought to explain how and why you and John Allen, as CG, Central Command, did not engage and take out Iranian Major General Soleimani, who roamed the Middle East and wreaked havoc and death on our American boys with his infamous IEDs. Why did it take President Trump to have the instinct and balls to take him out? Of course, over the objections, the geniuses in the Pentagon, looks like the Persian mullahs were one-horse sleigh and Trump nailed the horse forever. It's been quiet ever since. Perhaps your anger is born of embarrassment for your own failures as leader of Central Command. Did you applaud when the president recognized the central problem in the Middle East? Did you applaud the president when he wanted to save American lives by bringing them home in one piece? And this is by John M. Dowd, and it's addressed to Jim, which I would assume is James Mathis, right? That would make sense to me. Just never heard him called Jim before, but hey. Okay. It is, isn't it? James. Or is it Jim Mathis? I don't know. You know, Mad Dog. What's his first name? This is driving me crazy now because I feel like you ever just have like a brain fade moment and you think, wait a minute, is that right? Mad Dog. Mattis. Yeah, Jim. Okay. Now, all right. So, all right. I was right. But for a second there, I second guessed myself. I don't know why, but I did. All right. Better to get it right and look stupid than just to plow ahead with false information. Okay. So, Q said we are fighting for our survival. And indeed we are. Now, We are on drop 4413. 4413. Some military brass are openly talking about defying the President of the United States, which is, as you know, and I, mutiny. And we have the American flag, as beautiful as it is, and we've got some links here. Those loyal to our constitutional republic and our command structure, those loyal to the office of the president and the will of the people, those who swore an oath to protect and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic, those good people who serve proudly for America, Castle Rock, for God and country. And Lisa Mae Crowley says, fifth top Pentagon official in 7 days to leave. Top military brass, civilians banding together to go against POTUS. Sounds like seditious conspiracy. A coup versus POTUS. Q, calling all patriots. Castle Rock equals White House on offense. And we've got this about the fifth Pentagon. Ambassador Cadenau becomes fifth Pentagon official to resign in 7 days. Wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. I hadn't seen a picture of her before. Ambassador Tina Cadenau, senior advisor for international cooperation, has left the Pentagon. The Department of Defense confirmed to Defense News Wednesday. Let's hope she left to go to the hairdresser. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. She needs to. Just saying. Why it matters, she's the fifth top official in 7 days to exit or announce their departure from the Pentagon, according to the Defense News and The Hill. The Big Picture, per the two news outlets, Cadenau left her role on December 16th. It was announced on December 12th that Randall Shriver, the top Asia policy official, would leave his position soon. A day later, Jimmy Stewart, the acting Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness, said he was retiring. Stephen Walker, head of Defense Advanced Research Projects Agencies, will leave in January for an industry job, Defense News reported Tuesday. I guess they're cleaning the Pentagon now, wouldn't you say? Earlier Wednesday, the Defense Department confirmed to the military news outlet that Carrie Bingen, Principal Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, would step down next month. What they're saying, a Department of Defense spokesperson told The Hill the service of longtime official Cadenau was appreciated and he wishes her well. DoD spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Michael Andrews told Defense News the department was committed to the development and implementation of international cooperative programs and defense exportability efforts to foster cooperation with U.S. allies on research, development, production, and control of weapons systems and related equipment. What that has to do with anything, I don't know. The department will not provide anything further on this personnel matter, Andrews added. So there you go. People leaving the Pentagon. Can't imagine why. Yes, I can. All right. And this is the second link. Okay. Let's listen to Dan Bongino.
About the Insurrection Act in the U.S. military. What I'm hearing from people is that there is some military brass. This is uncomfortable for me to talk about, but you need to hear it because you need to be warned. And some civilian representatives of the military, undersecretary types and others, who are organizing together and talking about how they're going to either talk the president out of or just simply not obey his orders if the president, God forbid, and again, as I said, it would be a very bad idea now, but if we were to lose an American city using the U.S. military, think about what I just told you. Folks, I've been doing this now. This is episode 1266. Joe's been there with me from episode 1. My wife's been married to me from episode 1. I don't think I've ever told you something as serious as what I just told you. These are not second-rate garbage sources. These are legitimate, real people who are genuinely concerned that some upper-level people in our military are openly talking about defying the President of the United States. That's got a name. That's called a mutiny.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, Venezuela? You don't like the president's decisions about his constitutional authority to use our military to suppress an emergency situation? Then there's a solution for that. It's called an election. It'll be here in November. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. You know who I'm voting for. I've been a supporter of the president, and I'll continue to. My vote's not a secret. I'm not telling you who to vote for. But the mere suggestion that the President of the United States is no longer the commander-in-chief and some band of military insiders is somehow...
Yeah, I really trust Dan Bongino, and I think he is one of the best there is that's out there. He tells the truth, and he's lived the life, you know? So, yeah, it's horrifying, really. Not a good idea. Not a good idea to not obey the president. Now, we are on drop 4414, emergency action message, EAM. EAM loyalists, red 1, POTUS Twitter removal, red 2, Central Communications blackout, continental U.S., red 3, class movement, Pelosi or Pence. Not sure what that means, to tell you the truth. Red 4, movement of military assets, 10th Mountain, 1st Marine, CPSD Marine QVIR to central locations under guise of citizen riot control. Interesting. Red 5, National Military Communication Center. Red 6, Secretary of Defense, Instruct 1, U.S. Secret Service, Castle Rock, Q. Wow. Now, Lisa May Crowley says EAM equals emergency action message, a vital message, extremely time sensitive, ours or theirs. Red equals highest alert level. Last red reference instructions regarding POTUS small business tweet, steps 1 to 6, white hat events or deep state. Classified movement of Pelosi or Pence is Esper deep state. And The Oppressor Lieber says, does appear to be a heads up to patriots that Jack will remove POTUS. I'm sorry. Oh, sometimes I just can't make the lips work. Does appear to be a heads up to patriots that Jack will remove POTUS Twitter accounts. There will be some type of blackout as relates to communications in the U.S. This may only apply to military communications, so there is assurance the communications come through one channel only. POTUS and Secretary of Defense Pence will be hidden during this time as he is second in command to POTUS. Pelosi will be as well, either for optics or for different reason, as she would be third in line. Oh, I shudder at the thought. Military assets will be put into place. Marines, hence the movement we've seen the past few days with POTUS, bringing military into D.C. Marines are under direct control of President. Military communications from one location in accordance with emergency action message protocol. And Secretary of Defense Miley giving the orders, White House is safe and will be locked down. EAM equals emergency action message. Things are getting very, very serious. And as we get closer to November, I think we're going to be seeing more and more stuff happening, both good and bad. Okay, now we are on drop 4415. Are Democrats and mainstream media and former military brass coordinating a staged event? False flag. Are the Democrats, the mainstream media, and former military brass coordinating a staged event? Well, I happen to think they are. And right here it says riot coordination in select safe zone cities, Democrat controlled. Mayors allow staged event, allow former active military brass assertion of unconstitutional threat to Constitution, mutiny, mainstream media, public optics, staging underway, alert readiness, severe, critical. So let's look at this, and here is Mad Dog himself. James Mattis denounces President Trump, describes him as a threat to the Constitution. In an extraordinary condemnation, the former defense secretary backs protesters and says the president is trying to turn Americans against each other. Oh, really? Well, I wouldn't think that at all. Really, I think he's brought Americans closer together. But maybe that's just me. James Mattis, the esteemed Marine general who resigned as Secretary of Defense in December 2018 to protest Donald Trump's Syria policy, has ever since kept studiously silent about Trump's performance as president, but he has now broken his silence, writing an extraordinary broadside in which he denounces the president for dividing the nation and accuses him of ordering the U.S. military to violate the constitutional rights of American citizens. I've watched this week's unfolding events. Angry and appalled, Mattis writes, the words equal justice under the law are carved in the pediment of the United States Supreme Court. This is precisely what protesters are rightly demanding. It is a wholesome and unifying demand, one that all of us should be able to get behind. We must not be distracted by a small number of lawbreakers. Small number? He must not be seeing what the rest of us are seeing. The protests are defined by tens of thousands of people of conscience who are insisting that we live up to our values as people and our values as a nation. He goes on, we must reject and hold accountable those in office who would make a mockery of our Constitution. In his j'accuse, Mattis excoriates the president for setting Americans against one another. Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people. He does not even pretend to try. Instead, he tries to divide us, Mattis writes. We are witnessing the consequences of 3 years of his deliberate effort. We are witnessing the consequences of 3 years without mature leadership. We can unite without him, drawing on the strengths inherent in our civil society. This will not be easy, as the last few days have shown, but we owe it to our fellow citizens, to past generations that bled to defend our promise, and to our children. Okay, well, and it says he goes on to contrast the American ethos of unity with Nazi ideology. Instructions given by the military departments to our troops before the Normandy invasion reminded soldiers that the Nazi slogan for destroying us was divide and conquer. Our American answer is union. In union there is strength. We must summon that unity to surmount the crisis, confident that we are better than our politics. So anyway, I'm not going to read this because I actually read this in my last news video. Alrighty, and let's go back because there's more links here. And let's look at this. Senior military leaders being called to testify to Congress about George Floyd protest response. Hang on here. Angry lawmakers will summon top Pentagon leaders to Capitol Hill next week to explain what role military personnel will play in responding to growing demonstrations of racial unrest in major U.S. cities, and whether President Donald Trump will President Trump has overstepped his authority as commander-in-chief. The president is talking about going to war with the citizens of the United States of America, and that is troubling, said House Armed Service Committee Chairman Adam Smith, Democrat, Washington, in a conference call with reporters on Tuesday. I'm very concerned about what potential role the U.S. military could play in amplifying this misguided rhetoric. talking about the United States of America as a battle space is wrong. Well, then don't make it a battle space. I mean, when you're out there looting, burning down businesses, burning down people's homes, then yeah, I say let the military come in and restore peace. Smith said he will call Defense Secretary Mark Esper and Joint Chiefs Chairman General Mark Milley to appear next week in an in-person hearing before the committee to explain how the military will be used in response to the protests spurred by the death of an unarmed African American in police custody in Minneapolis last week. Prosecutors have charged one officer in connection with the death of the man George Floyd. So I think this is all we need to know, that they are meeting. This isn't good. I mean, you know, it's like they're never going to stop investigating Trump and trying to prove that he's some sort of monster, a loose despot. You know, that's what they're trying to do. And they're not going to stop trying to do that. Not until the election. And then even then, they'll probably start trying to impeach him all over again because they won't want him to go his full 4 years. And they will probably impede his every move if they can. If we don't retake the House, then I don't know. But I would not miss Pelosi if she just, you know, retired. Okay, now let's go on here. Now the Washington Examiner, I had to do this because it's behind a paywall. So, okay, revolt of the generals. We do not yet know precisely why Defense Secretary Mark T. Esper publicly broke with President Trump on Wednesday, renouncing the use of the Insurrection Act as a means to deploy the military against civilian demonstrators. We can surmise, however, that Pentagon brass was finally fed up and prevailed upon Esper to speak out. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, who had accompanied Trump on his march across Lafayette Square, put out a memo on June 2nd, which read like a not very subtle rebuke of Trump's attempt to use the military to suppress protesters. Every member of the U.S. military swears an oath to support, defend the Constitution and the values embedded within it. We are in uniform, all branches, all components, and all ranks remain committed to our national values and principles embedded in the Constitution. 2. During this current crisis, the National Guard is operating under the authority of state governors to protect lives and property, preserve peace, and ensure public safety. Yeah, well, except for the governors that don't want them, because they kind of want their states destroyed. Well, they'll get more money that way, they think. All right. As members of the joint force comprised of all races, colors, and creeds, you embody the ideals of our Constitution. Please remind all our troops and leaders that we will uphold the values of our nation and operate consistent with national laws and our own high standards of conduct at all times. And to be clear, Trump never wanted them to violate the law. Of course, you know, under the Insurrection Act, he would have the legal ability to make full use of them. James N. Miller, a former Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, announced his resignation from the Science Defense Board in the pages of the Post and upbraided Esper as a concerned citizen as a former senior defense official who cares deeply about the military. I urge you to consider closely both your future actions and your future words. For example, some could interpret literally your suggestion to the nation's governors Monday that they need to dominate the battle space. I cannot believe that you see the United States as a battle space, or that you believe our citizens must be dominated. Well, yeah, you know, have you ever seen a policeman take down a criminal? Yeah, well, they dominate them. They dominate them. Yes. American citizens. That's what you do. That's how you have to deal with people that are lawless, completely lawless. Or do you just let them burn everything down? I guess you just stand there and let them burn. Let everything burn. Sure, yeah, we can drive another 100 miles to go to a grocery store, you know, or another 30 miles or 20 miles, whatever. That's what they're doing. They're burning down stores in local communities that people shop at. But yeah, Trump's the bad one, right? General David Goldfein, the Air Force Chief of Staff, and Lieutenant General Jay Silvera, Superintendent of the Air Force Academy, also spoke up this week in support of the protest for racial justice, with Silvera directly repudiating use of violence against fellow Americans. Well, hello, the protesters are using violence against American citizens. But that's okay. They're grieving. They're grieving. Nothing makes you feel better than punching somebody out and, you know, just stomping on them, I guess. Anyway, here we've got this from Lisa Mae Crowley. Mainstream media spins general statements as anti-Trump, alert readiness, severe, critical, #mutiny. Absolutely. And here we've got the oppressor Lieber says, alert readiness, severe, critical, deep state deploying all assets at this point. Former active military brass has been given the green light by deep state to pitch narrative that POTUS acting unconstitutional. Deep state trying to stage optics that generals are against POTUS. This is not true. Yes, there are a handful of retired generals against POTUS, and there may be a few others we are not aware of yet, but rest assured, most of our military and our generals are patriots and will not tolerate this mutiny. We knew this day would come. Deep state deploying all assets against patriots, U.S. military, and Q. Stand firm. Fake news attempt to paint a picture of General Milley disagreeing with POTUS, but General Milley's letter to the troops does no such thing. He tells the troops to remain committed to the Constitution and to uphold the values of our nation. Patriots, remember who is literally on our side and goes before us to fight this battle. God will win. Evil will not prevail. Pray for your president and the U.S. military and our police officers and National Guard. There is a very real possibility that the deep state generals are attempting to sabotage the command structure, go codes and nuclear codes. Ooh. I think Q letting the loyalists know to follow prior protocol of a normal emergency action message situation to avoid mistakes or false communications or false commands. Now, let's see how much further we have to go till we get to the 5th. Because I'm telling you, I think I'm already over an hour here. Woo, we got a ways to go still. Man. When I said I was behind, I'm behind, man. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to stop here and I'm going to pick up and do a video covering the rest of 4th, and I don't know if I'm going to get to the 5th today or not, which means that tomorrow I'd have to cover the 5th and the 6th. And there's news to get to too. My gosh, I'm going to have to start really doing this a lot earlier. 2 videos I can do. 3, I'm not sure if I can do 3 videos in a night, but I may have to start trying. So, all right, I'm going to end there for right now anyway, and I'm going to pick up. So, we're going to at least finish the 4th tonight. So, that is it. So I'll let you guys go so that I can get working on the next one, and I'll get this uploaded for your perusal. And you guys have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth. For goodness sakes, please, we need people seeking the truth. Good night, guys.